Welcome back. Chip Flory and Garrett Toy rejoining us. All right, Chip, we just heard from Lance of NAS, and he was talking about that historical perspective. Don't get caught up in these week to week numbers when it comes to crop progress or
Yeah.
crop conditions. Is that something that we need to keep in mind as these crop condition ratings do start to come out?
Oh, absolutely. You got to follow the trends. And everybody always talks about the amount of the crop in good to excellent condition. I look more at the percent of the crop in the poor to very poor condition. That gives us a better indication of how much pull to the downside there is. When we look at the crop that's rated good to excellent, yeah, it gives us some kind of an indication of whether or not we can get to that trend line yield. But boy, the poor to very poor is the portion of the crop that tells us how much yield we might be losing.
Garrett, in the last roundtable, you talked about how it is still early, and it is still early with the planting season, but we are seeing states like North Dakota, South Dakota, already behind. Do you think that the incentive has changed this year for farmers to take that gamble and plant late like they did last year when you consider crop prices were much different this time last year than they are today?
Well, you got a combination of factors. We've got these corn futures that are about $2 cheaper than they were at this point last year. The other aspect of it is that you've had the StatsCan number come out this week that may be taking some of the wind out of the sails as far as the need for spring wheat acres, considering you're looking at the highest wheat acreage out of Canada since, I think, 2001. So economically, not only from the northern plains, but even Corn Belt farmers, I mean, with this break that we've seen this week, we're back below break evens on some of these numbers if you haven't been hedged. So the message the market's sending to people is that, look for alternatives potentially here, that we're not trying to buy acres in any way with the concern, because we're trying to find demand first.
Yeah, absolutely. Garrett mentioned spring wheat, but when it comes to winter wheat, Chip, we did see some rains finally in some of these areas of the plains. Is it enough to save this winter wheat crop?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be enough. It might spruce some of the better stands up. Well, it definitely will help out the better stands, but there's way, way, way too many fields that are in that poor to very poor condition in Kansas. It's like 60%. So it's it's going to take a lot to bring that crop back. If we could keep things cool and keep the moisture coming on a more regular basis, that would help that hard red winter wheat crop out in Kansas. But I don't really think that that's in the forecast for us right now.
So, Garrett, as more farmers do hit the fields to start planting or continue to progress with planting, it's not fun to get in the cab and start planting when prices are on a downward slope. What advice do you have farmers right now who are pretty frustrated where commodity prices have gone just in the past couple weeks?
Well, keep calm. I mean, we are going to find demand, and I'm not necessarily sure that these Chinese cancellations might not be rolling. We'll see how this plays out, because considering the inverses that we have on the market here, they're smart traders as well. But just keep your powder dry. There's going to be opportunities in the market. I do not think that we're setting a high early this year. I do know 2 years ago we set the D's corn high in June. Last year we set it in May. It's extremely rare to set a high in April. So I think the market's going to have plenty of opportunities. It's an El Nino transition year. There's a lot more factors going on in South America, logistics, credit, that sort of thing, that's creating this cheapness that eventually those negative waves will subside. And there'll have to be some opportunities to market this crop. The big picture is world demand is still fairly strong as long as we don't have a major economic recession.
Yep.
The issue is it's just a dislocation in South America is the cheapest option at this point.
Yeah, Chip, switching gears real quick when it comes to pork prices, those sluggish pork prices did see some life come into that market midweek this week. Was there a change in fundamentals or what happened?
No, maybe a little bit of a change in fundamentals. There might be a little extra demand coming back in because the pork product, the cutout value has gotten low enough now that we're starting to think that the retailers may feature some pork during grilling season rather than focusing most of the attention on beef, because beef prices, just going in the opposite directions about as fast as I've ever seen the beef and the pork markets go. So if we can get some strength into the pork market, we can put a low into the lean hog market, but that's a process. Just like Garrett was explaining, putting in a low and ending a decline is a process. It just doesn't, happen immediately. So the process, I think, is started for the hog market.
All right, Chip. Thank you so much, Garrett. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on U.S. Farm Report coming up.